toddler, all alone but seemingly unconcerned, walked barefoot into a church in Cancun, Mexico 4 weeks ago. Kind-hearted locals rushed to help. They needed to work out who she was and who she belonged to. The baby couldn't tell them, so her photograph was shared on social media. It worked, but the answer surprised everyone. Her name was Adeline, the daughter of a Queensland woman, Tani Shanks. One mystery might have been solved, but it led to another one. There was no trace of Tani or Addie's father. Now, in a country gripped by cartel-related violence, there's a desperate race to find the missing couple before it's too late. At just 2.5, Adeline is an inquisitive and joyous child, and now safely in Australia. Her laughter is even more precious when you consider the trauma she's going through.
De una ciudadana australiana, la última vez que sus familiares tuvieron contacto con ella fue el pasado 30.
Addie is at the centre of a confounding international missing persons investigation. And what she's experienced in the last 4 weeks defies belief. First, she was mysteriously separated from her parents in Mexico, and then abandoned by a stranger in a local church. The toddler hasn't seen her mum or dad for the past month, and nor has anyone else. A keeper of secrets she's too young to share, Addie may well be the only one who knows what has happened to her Australian mum, Tani Shanks, and Mexican-born dad, Jorge Astudillo. What do you think has happened?
I've got no idea. That's the thing. We don't know if she's just disappeared. They're just both of them gone. And then a few hours later, Addie's at a church in Cancun.
Shell-shocked and distraught, Tani's brother, Ben Shanks, and mother, Leanne, have been thrown into a dark world as they desperately wait for word of Tani's whereabouts.
That many things going through my head, you know. Like I don't want her to be suffering anywhere, you know. But look, it's just about we've got to do everything we can to try and find her. And we are as strong, you know, and her brothers and sister love her, and that's, we've just got to bring her home to Addie, you know.
Hi, my name is Tani. I'm from Australia, but I actually live here in Cancun, Mexico.
The sudden disappearance in Cancun of Tani and her former partner, Jorge, who is known to the family as George, has sparked a high-level police investigation. State Attorney General Oscar Montes de Oca Rosales has allowed us special access to the headquarters where there are two main lines of inquiry. The first is that Tani is the victim of domestic violence, and George is now in hiding or on the run. The other, considered more likely, is that George is a criminal with links to Mexico's notorious cartels, and the couple's disappearance is payback for George's dirty dealing. What do you believe has happened to this couple?
It could be just retaliation from the criminal groups that he was involved with.
Do you believe that this couple is still alive?
According to the law, we consider them as alive, and that's the way that we look for them until something is shown to be different.
This CCTV footage captures Tani and George's white ute. Police believe this was the last time Tani and George were seen on the move, and this is the first time the footage has been released. The next time the ute is spotted is some 8 or 9 hours later, abandoned and burnt out.
8 hours later, Addie's found in Cancun, and then 40 minutes later, the car's found completely burnt out from the inside out. And they were just heading home, so something must have happened. in that timeline.
Cancun to far north Queensland. Tani's humble family and friends feel they've been catapulted into a terrifying Narcos-style drama. But Nikita Weller, Tani's confidant and godmother to Addie, says the danger and the fear are very real, and it was George's doing.
She found out he was into some shady stuff. She didn't say what, but it scared her enough to want to come home.
And in terms of his shady dealings, do you know more? Did she discover?
No, she didn't. She just said he's into a lot of shady stuff, and that she was scared. And that was it. And I just told her, babe, I think you need to come home. I think this is it. I think this is time. You've got to come home somehow.
Tani was spooked enough to also text other friends. We can publicly reveal this disturbing message for the first time.
George Lewis Aguirre Astudillo, just in case anything happens to me. Make sure you tell them he's a criminal.
She even said to me, remember George's full name just in case I ever go missing. She said that before. And I think it has to do with what she found out about him. And she kept those cards to herself.
Tani clearly was right to worry, but her family only learned of her disappearance through a most unexpected and fortuitous discovery. Little Addie had been found, alone and without shoes, out the front of a Cancun church. Her photos shared on a local crime post. A family friend in Mexico recognised the toddler and contacted Ben in Queensland. So that was the first time that you knew anything had gone wrong?
Yeah, I was just about to go to bed. I usually wouldn't even look at my message if I get a message when I'm lying down, but I've just had a look and, it was from someone who I hadn't spoken to for years, you know.
What was the feeling in your stomach?
That's something that happened straight away. She would never leave that girl behind. She would never leave her on her own. No way. Not in a million years. So it's... Yeah, I knew something was wrong.
Ben and his mother Leanne had no option but to make a mercy dash to Mexico to rescue Addie, to search for Tani, and to make sense of a case that was becoming more frightening by the minute. With its white sandy beaches and irresistible blue-green water, Cancun, Mexico is an obvious tourist destination. But it also has a dark side, as competing crime cartels fight for territory and the tourist dollar. Brazen shootouts are an unwelcome but everyday part of life in this city.
At least 8 gunmen then entered the hotel carrying long guns.
It's from here that on May 2nd, Australian woman Tani Shanks and her estranged partner, George Estudillo, suddenly disappeared.
Una mujer de nacionalidad australiana quien iba de vacaciones rumbo a Tulum en compañía de su pareja de nacionalidad mexicana.
And it's here their daughter, 2.5-year-old Adeline, inexplicably showed up, all alone, outside a Cancun church. Sparking a frantic mercy dash from Australia by her grandmother Leanne and uncle Ben Shanks.
Just couldn't believe it. Yeah, shock, I suppose. You're just in shock for the moment.
What would have happened, Adeline, if you hadn't got there that fast?
We were worried about someone else grabbing her, you know. We just wanted her back home, back with us.
She was over there, and I just get close to her, get on my knees, and start to talk to her. What's your name? Where's mom and dad?
Carlos Gutierrez Canto was at church with family around 9 p.m. that Monday night. As they were leaving, a concerned stranger approached.
And we were right here. We get out of the church. A random guy just approached to us and said, "Be careful, your little girl could cross the road and get hit by a car."
But that little girl didn't belong to Carlos. It was Addie. She was without her parents and without shoes, but she was unharmed and seemed calm and happy.
The guy who said to us, be careful with the daughter, he said, I will go around the church to look for the family and I'll come back. Can you take care of the little girl just for a few seconds?
The man who told Carlos he would search for Addie's parents never returned. So Carlos and his family called police and posted their photos of Addie on Facebook. Those photographs of Addie that you took went viral. They went around the world, they were seen, and that's what led to Addie's rescue. How do you feel about that?
We're happy that, thinking that we did a good job, a good thing. The we upload the photos on Facebook, it's the right thing. And when we start to see that their parents weren't around the church, we're like, yes, we have to do it. Do it now. So.
On landing in Mexico, Leanne and Ben had one desperate mission: to get to Addie. Leanne had only met her granddaughter once when she was first born, and Ben not at all thanks to COVID. A family get-together with Tani and Addie had been planned for next month in Australia. But now that reunion had to happen without Tani, in a refuge for orphan children.
Hello, Addie. Hello, Addie Bray. Hola, we did Addie Bray.
This is love, huh?
What was the moment like when you saw her for the first time in Mexico?
Oh, unbelievable. She went straight to bed.
Little Addie Bray. It's Nana. It's Nana. Oh, Nana, yes, I'm darling.
She doesn't know us, you know. I mean, as much as I do video calls, she's half the time ignoring me anyway, you know.
Oh, sweetheart. Oh, okay.
But she's just unbelievable, that child. I can't speak enough of how great she is, you know.
The relief of rescuing Addie was bittersweet. It confirmed another fear. Something bad must have happened to her parents, Tani and George. Leanne and Ben met with police inside C5, the biggest law enforcement centre in Latin America. Analysing material collected from their 2,000 surveillance cameras, investigators were able to retrace the couple's bewildering last movements, which included their unexpected getaway to Cancun from their hometown of Merida.
We actually seen Tani, George and Addie checking into a hotel in Cancun and checked out on the same day that Adeline was found.
So how long had they stayed at the hotel?
Just overnight.
This map and CCTV footage have never been released before. Police have used mobile phone data, camera surveillance and licence recognition technology to piece together the family's last known movements. On May 2nd, they're seen checking out of their Cancun hotel before leaving town just after 11:30 a.m. and heading in the direction of their home in Merida. But 15 minutes later, having travelled nearly 20 kilometres, the car does a U-turn and heads back towards Cancun before taking a detour off the highway. The last time a phone signal from the car was picked up was just after midday.
So for some reason they've turned around or something's happened and yeah, the car's been turned around and then like 10k down the road, then it just stops.
That's where the last ping comes from.
Yep, on George's phone, yeah.
Bueno, lo que podría decirte es que seguramente ellos los iban.
What I can say is, well, maybe they were being followed and that's why they turned around and they took the secondary road. That could have happened.
Ya lo reitero, tener resultados más adelante. Entre otras autoridades.
Inside the police investigation, State Attorney General Oscar Montes de Oca Rosales has uncovered criminal links. Tani has been cleared, But George is an alleged fraudster who is accused of selling fake holiday packages. More ominously, there is also suspicion he is a cartel member who has fallen foul of the Mexican crime organizations.
También era algo que conocía la familia.
He had been threatened before, and he even had hired a bodyguard because he had been threatened before, and he was afraid for his life.
Contratado un guardaespaldas para que lo cuidara porque temía por su vida.
So is he a member of a cartel?
Bueno, aparentemente.
Well, apparently, and according to what we have seen, he could be.
Most baffling is how and why Addie was left outside a church on her own, and most mysteriously, by whom. Extraordinarily, Addie's father George was the prime suspect, after witnesses claimed to have seen him at the church with Addie. It wasn't what the family wanted to hear because it pointed to George having hurt Tani, dumping their daughter and going on the run.
That's what's led us down the first scenario, obviously, of it was George had done it, you know. I don't want to say that because I don't know, you know, but that's where we went first. That's straight away. Yes. He's done something to Tani. We need to find him.
But frustratingly for police and the family, the certainty around that identification has been put in doubt by Carlos and his brother, the men who were the closest witnesses. I have a photo here of Addie's father. Do you recognise him?
No, I wasn't able to. My brother said like he could be the father, but he's not really sure. Like, you know, he had the same skin color, he had the same kind of beard.
We don't find any sense in Jorge having left her there. It makes absolutely no sense.
Who do you believe delivered Addie to the church? Who do you think that man was?
We would like to assume that they are the same people involved in this event and that they wanted to safeguard the well-being, the physical integrity of the minor. And that's what we believe because of the time of the day. We can assume that the intention was to safeguard her.
It was then that this mystery took another turn. Not long after Addie was dropped at the church, Tani and George's car was found 40 kilometres away in Puerto Morelos. It had been set on fire and was still burning when police were called to it.
The police said it was done professionally, whatever that means. They said they could only lift 4 numbers from VIN plates and number plates were gone, and the way it was burnt, there's hardly anything left of it.
As the news in Mexico got worse and worse, Ben and Leanne knew they had to get Addie out as fast as they could.
I just held my breath, but I just wanted to get out of there.
It was a race against time at that point.
Hello, Addie Bry.
On May 6th, Leanne Shanks and her son Ben travelled to Mexico to rescue granddaughter 2.5-year-old Adeline.
Little Addie Bry, it's Nana. It's Nana.
She'd been found barefoot and alone at one of Cancun's biggest and most well-known churches. Within 2 days, having been granted an emergency passport, they were on the long journey home via Canada with their precious cargo.
So leaving Vancouver airport to head back home, it's going to take us about 20 hours, so in for a pretty long haul, but Addie's going well. She's had a good sleep, all had a good rest here, and hopefully this isn't too hard.
There's Dad.
They returned to Mackay in Queensland to a hero's welcome from their large and loving family.
Hey, Addie.
Addie, instantly adored by her cousins, who she had never met before. But for all the joy and relief these moments bring, there's no avoiding the enormous anxiety and grief this family is suffering, with Addie's mum, Tani Shanks, still missing. How hard is it for a mother to leave the country in which her daughter has disappeared?
Yeah. Very heart-wrenching, very... I would not have left if it wasn't that little girl involved, you know.
Did you go there believing that you could find your sister?
I was hoping by the time we got there she'd be found. And I was hoping maybe someone would turn something up, but not a sign, nothing. Just vanished.
How maddening is that?
Sitting over here, feeling like you're doing nothing, yeah, it's pretty hard. And I know they're just doing their job over there, but not receiving any information makes it even harder, you know.
Yeah, so you're drinking some water anyway.
How's she cope with jet lag and all that stuff?
She was good on that, and she does this little cry for 30 seconds maximum, and with the lips, and she's just such a happy, content, beautiful little spirit. And that's
One can't imagine what this little girl is thinking.
I just love her.
But hopefully she senses she is surrounded by a family determined to reunite her with her mother.
May I have a copy of the missing persons record to send through to Facebook?
Missing posters of Tani are being distributed in churches across Mexico, and the family has also resorted to offering a private reward for information that leads to finding her. How much is your family putting up?
So we'll probably put up 1 million pesos, which would be around 70,000 Australian dollars here.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but if we had more, we'd put up whatever, you know, to get Tani back.
Her friends say at 32, Tani is fun, spirited and fearless, and loved being in Mexico. 9 months ago, the family moved from the hustle and bustle of Cancun to the quieter and more elegant Merida. George, Addie and Tani seem to be living their best life. But then 6 months ago, it all came to an end when Tani discovered George was having an affair and, as she told others, was a criminal. Was she broken-hearted over that?
She was angry. Like, she was broken-hearted, but she was also angry.
You must keep a constant watch on your phone at the moment.
Looking for updates, looking for anyone, comments.
Nikita Weller says her best friend came incredibly close to escaping the unhappiness, with tickets booked for her and Addie to visit Australia in June. Tani shared with Nikita the secret she'd kept from George, a plan to make her holiday trip with Addie a permanent stay, and a permanent move away from him. Those plans, like so much now, may never come to be. It must be very hard to have any hope right now.
It is. And I know logically the statistics in my head of her being alive are very slim. But even if it was 1% chance, I need her to come back alive.
Girl, what is what? In this what?
The frustration and the fear must be overwhelming. As much as little Addie is a bright light in their lives,
Yeah, good girl.
she can't help but remind this family of who is missing and what they may have lost, forced into a waiting game beyond any of their experiences. How long do you live in limbo for?
Well, I guess we just got to keep going until we bring Tani home. Just got to keep going. Something happens, a miracle happens, you know.
Does it feel like that's what you need?
To me, it does, yeah. But I'm not giving up on her.
The last few days, I've just had this renewed feeling. I just can't understand. I would have felt her if she was gone. I just don't feel Tani. And I know that sounds probably silly to some people, but it's just how I feel, you know. And that just makes me have that bit of hope, I guess. Yeah, she's my baby, she's my youngest, and I hope we get her back.